There is something very exciting on my desk today, and something I've been having a really hard time keeping quiet about, actually, because I've known about this for a couple of weeks. Corvus Belli approached me recently and asked me if I would like to review what you might be able to just about see behind me, the Morat Aggression Forces box. Now, I'm brand new to N4. I've just literally this week, at the time of filming this, graduated from N4 to Code 1, so I was really excited to get into a faction that's just getting its rebirth, to just getting redone. And so Morat's was something that I was planning to buy anyway. So when CB contacted me and said, would you like to review it before release? Of course I wanted to review it before release. So we're going to take a quick look. I'm going to give some very amateur impressions of what I think of the profiles. We're going to look at the miniatures themselves. And hopefully it's going to be a good bit of fun. Let's dive into the Morats. Okay, so we're here with the Morat Aggression Forces action pack from Corvus Belli. And the first thing we're going to do is get this open and get everything out of it. And I'm going to just quickly time-lapse myself doing that because we're not going to talk about things straight away. So let's do that. So, the reason I've made a point of actually getting all of this stuff out of its packaging, first of all, and lining it all up on the table like this, is because instead of just doing a review where I show you metal in pieces, what I actually want to do is build all of this, and I'm going to zenithal everything as well, so that whilst we're talking about it, what you get to look at on the screen actually gives you a pretty representative idea of what these miniatures are going to look like. So it's going to be a much nicer way for you to be able to really tell what you're getting here. So, again, brief bit of time lapse as I start doing that. I won't show you the whole process, but then once we've got it all done, we will come back and we will start talking about these miniatures and what we think of them. Okay, so with all of these primed up and zenithalled now, it's a little bit easier for you to see the detail, and I think that's a better way to show these off, seeing as they are new and, you know, no one's really handled them yet. You're going to want to know what they look like, especially if you're considering buying them, but haven't quite pulled the trigger on the pre-order. So the first one we need to talk about, I'm going to go through these in the order that they're illustrated on the side of the box, just for arbitrary reasons, as you know, no real reason, but that's the order I fancy doing. So we're starting with the Dartock, and this is the chain rifle plus 2 burst Flamen Spear version. Now, obviously, before we get too far into this, remember I am brand new to N4, so my speculations on what's good and what's not might well be way off base, and feel free to politely educate me in the comments. I love that kind of thing. I'm very keen to learn and absorb knowledge, but I do think this is the unit that a lot of people are going to be talking about. 22 points for this version with a plus 2 burst chain rifle, so that's what, burst 4 templates. Flamen Spear, that's the disposable anti-tank weapon, I want to say. BS attack plus 1 damage, which is great on the chain rifle. Dodge plus 2 inches, which is great on anything that's 6'2", because you can cheese extra movement with that 4-inch dodge. Frenzy, yeah, fine. Immunity Shock, fine. And Religious Troop and Veteran, which you're going to see as a recurring theme across the whole army. Pretty much everything, I believe, certainly everything in this box has Religious Troop and Veteran, which basically just lets you ignore a bunch of stuff. No guts rolls, no retreat status, no loss of lieutenant, all that kind of thing. So this is the one that I think people are going to feel is a little bit close to cracked. This is the one that I think people might feel is a bit unfair. It's armor 5, it's 2 wounds, it's BS 12, it's got template weapons, it's pretty crap in combat, but other than that, it's pretty good. And it's only 22 points in its cheapest form. That said, if you go all the way up to the Breaker Combi Rifle Morat version, then you're on like 31 points. The Feuerback version with MSV1 is 36 points and a point and a half of SWC. So, you know, it's not all roses. But look at that model. You're going to want to take it, aren't you? If you are a new Morats player, if you're an old Morats player, you are going to want one of these in your force. And who could blame you? This is definitely the model that I think first excited me and first made me make the decision of, oh, I'm going to buy these. So you can imagine my excitement when Corvus Belli said that they were going to send them to me instead. Because, yeah, it's a pretty beautiful miniature. Okay, next on the list is the Raktarak, Morat Sergeant Major. Again, this is another one of the miniatures from the set that I think is really, really pretty. The flowiness of his tabard is just so stunningly sculpted. It's really, really beautiful. It has that dynamism to it. It's another one of those sculpts that I think is going to really attract people to Morats if they're not familiar with them and they come in seeing these new models, seeing this new release. This is one of those sculpts that I think will make people say, hey, that's something I could stand to get involved with. So, the version that we get in this sculpt is the Vulcan Shotgun, and there's 2 Vulcan Shotgun profiles. One is an NCO, one isn't. I guess you probably take this as an NCO if you're using this as your starting army. If you've got options, maybe not. But you're definitely going to be taking the NCO profile if you don't have a collection already for Morats. Comes with, yeah, Vulcan Shotgun, heavy pistol CC weapon. The Vulcan Shotgun is a pretty interesting weapon. Its blast mode profile is burst 2 and has continuous damage. That's pretty nasty. So the direct hit mode is, it's its usual shotgun, you know, 0 to 8 is +6. The direct hit mode is 2 shots of AP. The blast mode is 2 shots of continuous damage. It's pretty interesting for flexibility. And again, armor 2, so, you know, not the least hardy thing in the world. Terrain total, religious troop, veteran, spec op number 2, so again, good in fire teams. Whip 13, so, you know, not bad at pressing buttons. It's got a lot going for it. And again, it's pretty aggressively costed. The NCO profile is 24 points, and I think that is fine for what you're getting. It's a pretty good bit of kit. So again, gorgeous model, aggressively costed profile. I think you're going to see that this is a bit of a running theme with the Morats. Alrighty, next on the list is Kaesa Killing Platoon, probably the scariest sounding of the troops, and actually pretty scary on the table as well, I think. Again, I love the studio paint job for this one. They gave it yellow armor and a glowing green sword, and I think that's really interesting against a Morat force that's predominantly black and red, with, you know, just the odd little accent of yellow. I think that's a really interesting choice, and it looks beautiful. But we need to talk about what this thing does on the table. So what the thing that really stands out to me is it has a special skill BS attack T2. That means all of its ballistic attacks, all of its guns, no matter which it's firing, always use T2 ammunition. Now, why is that important? So T2 ammunition, it's if you're a Code 1 player, you're going to sort of think of it as fairly similar to double action ammunition. But whereas double action ammunition forces 2 saves for every hit, T2 ammunition means that each failed save causes 2 damage. So, what this means is on something like the submachine gun that a couple of these profiles have, there's an MSV1 submachine gun chain colt profile, which is the one I think you'll probably take a lot of the time. And then there's also a submachine gun only profile and a marksman rifle profile. But something like a submachine gun that's a close range AP weapon with a high rate of fire becomes very scary. When you've got AP ammunition and the capacity to do 6 damage in a single order, that's pretty terrifying, which makes this quite a good, say, close range heavy infantry hunter. It's also not awful in combat. The shock CC weapon and CC 19 is not, there's a lot of things you're not going to be scared to charge with that kind of profile. So Kiosot looks pretty impressive, and again, the points ranges 25, 29, and 30 depending on loadout. It's pretty scary stuff. I'm looking forward to playing this one. I want to see if it looks as interesting, or if it plays as interestingly on the table with that T2 ammo on all its guns as I think it will, because that sounds really good to me. Alright, next on the list, this is a fun one. This is the Rasiat Diplomatic Division, and again, cool profile, just cool, just interesting the way it plays. The version we get included here comes with a Spitfire. There are other profiles, boarding shotgun and combi rifle. They all have D-charges, they all have Eclipse grenades, they all have heavy pistols, and they all have double action CC weapons. And those double action CC weapons are going to be pretty important because this is a CC 21 profile with martial arts level 2 and natural born warrior. Natural born warrior, for those who don't know, means that your opponent can't use martial arts in combat with it. So it's getting martial arts level 2, +3 to it, -3 to them, but they can't use their martial arts on the clapback, which is a big deal. So we've got a good close combat unit here, a pretty scary close combat unit. You can probably tell by the look of it, it's also a jump troop, and it's got a parachutist deployment zone. Now, parachutist is the one you don't have to roll for. It's the one you just get to do. Its combat drop is the one that you have to roll for, and it has combat drop as well, but it has parachutist deployment zone, which means that it can just drop in your enemy's deployment zone. And it also has stealth, which means that it doesn't trigger zone of control AROs automatically. I believe that's what stealth does, and I believe it also lets you use the cautious move skill, if I remember correctly. Might be misremembering that. Feel free to correct me in the comments, but stealth combined with parachutist deployment zone is pretty scary on a close combat unit. Other than that, we're getting 2 points of armor, so it's it's not the most resilient thing in the world, but it's not terrible. 4/4 movement, which again, not particularly fast, so it does have its drawbacks, it does have its weaknesses, but you can also take 3 of them. Now, 3 of these things, I haven't actually checked the fire team's chart. I should check the fire team's chart right now while we're looking here, just to see if these can actually go into a fire team of their own. So, thankfully, Corvus Belli had the foresight not to let these guys fire team up, because I think that would actually just be really terrifying. But you are allowed 3 of them. So, they've got, you're not getting the order efficiency of fire teams from them, but you are allowed 3 of them, and that's pretty good. That aside, let's look at this miniature. I mean, Jesus, that is a bulky-looking jump troop. To give you some context, this is a Ryokan Unit 9. So this is another Silhouette 2 trooper next to one of these new Morat miniatures. They are huge. They are so big. If you're more Warhammer inclined, they're about Custodian or bigger sized. They're really chunky miniatures. It's when you see them like that that you realise just how imposing this army is going to look. Everything that you get in the box here comes to... So I've got it at 3.5 SWC and 210 points at the moment. I predict by the time you add the Tyrock Hunter and the 2 models from Diaphos 10, it's probably going to come out to pretty much bang on 300 or very, very close to 300. And that's going to be 12 miniatures. 12 of these big chunky fellows bearing down on you is gonna look scary. Opponents beware. It's gonna be quite the sight. So yeah, really nice big bulky jump troop. Love this model. Absolutely love it. Alrighty, next up, the Morat Vanguard Infantry. So this is your main line infantry for Morats. There's all sorts of fire teams you can form with them. And they're okay as line troops go. They're all right. They're a BS 11 line troop. They're a BS 11 CC 15 line troop with Phys 12, so they're comparable to Ariadne. Something they have got going for them is they're all BTS 3, which is pretty good. You know, having a faction of strong, tough line troopers that are all resilient to hackers is no bad thing. They're all pretty cheap. The cheapest one comes in at 14. The most expensive profile comes in at 22, which was with an HMG. You're probably not in the market for a BS11 HMG unless it's on like a total reaction bot. So I think that profile is probably not really going to see a bunch of play. But what we have got is a good range of versatility. We've got K1 sniper rifle, we've got missile launcher, we've got combi rifle and flash pulse, we've got a paramedic, a forward observer, a lieutenant, all sorts of different cool things. I think when you're playing just straight out of the box, you're probably going to take one of these as a lieutenant, and then a paramedic, and just a normal Vanguard with combi rifle. That's how I think you're going to go. The 3 models are all equipped with combi rifles. One has a bit of tactical machinery under his foot, which you may love or you may hate. I know we all have opinions on that. But they're great looking troops. Again, they're bare armed. They're the only models I've seen so far in the range that are completely bare armed, which is pretty interesting. So you're going to have an opportunity to paint some red skin tones there, or whatever other colour skin tones you decide you want to do them. They carry that good, imposing, serious look of the Morat aggression forces, and the new facial sculpts are so much scarier. Like, they've really sharpened up the details, made those kind of rictus grins, those battle grins, look all that more scary, you know, really got the fangs a lot more accented and stuff like that. They're really great looking line infantry. They're not the best line infantry in the game by any measure. You know, a CC15, BS11, Phys 12, Whip 13 line infantry it's fine, and they're actually maybe a touch expensive for their stat line, but they do have that BTS 3, they do have religious troop, and they do have veteran. And those things are all important, you know, they're all going to make a difference at some point. So there you have it, line infantry. Alright, next up is the first of not one, but 2 hackers that we get in this box. The Dartock Cyber Combat Team. So the Dartock, again, very tactically interesting on the board. Why is it interesting on the board? Well, the profile that you get in the box is a combi rifle. The profile that you get in the box is a combi rifle and pitcher. And that means that you've got a gun that allows you to shoot up to 16 inches at good range and extend your hacking range. And you're going to want to extend your hacking range because you've also got Trinity +1 damage. And that's pretty scary. It's a Whip 13 hacker, which ain't nothing to joke about. 25 points, half a point of SWC. BTS 6, so very good at defending against other hackers. I'm impressed with this profile, and I think this profile might be quite scary. I really do think it could be quite scary. Facing down, what is +1 damage Trinity like? 15 damage, I want to say. Doesn't sound great to me. Facing it down in such a way where they can just shoot a repeater and then be able to target me from further away than they should, and you know, giving me fewer places to hide. That's pretty scary. If I'm soft to hacking, then I'm probably quite scared of the Dartock. As if that wasn't enough, they also gave it dogged. So if you really need to make that Hail Mary play, it has dogged, and you can just go for it. You can just be like, well, this is it. It's do or die. Let's activate dogged, let's get up, and let's go and try and, you know, push that last minute button, or hack that last minute heavy infantry, or whatever you may want to do with a really nasty hacking profile. Again, as well, sculpting wise, this is becoming a repeat theme amongst this box. There's not a bad looking sculpt in it. They're all really, really pretty. The line infantry are probably the least impressive, but that's, you know, that's like saying like that there's a least impressive or a least tasty chocolate in a box of chocolates, right? It's still a chocolate. You're still going to enjoy it even if it's not the best flavor. And that's kind of the thing with this box is everything's really beautiful. The sculpts are all stunning, the poses are all really dynamic, and they all look like scary bastards, which is what you want from your Morat aggression forces. This guy in particular, I happen to like the fact that he's got these like straps and pipes running up his arm, and then he's got his hand outstretched, as the hackers often do. And, you know, Corvus Belli like to overlay that little photoshopped graphic on there to show him hacking away. So yeah, stunning hacker, and I think this guy's going to be nasty. I think he's going to be pretty scary on the table. That's the Dartock. And our final profile here is another hacker. This is the Zerat Special Missions Regiment. This is, again, another interesting one, because it's another hacking profile. I never realised that Morats were such a hacking strong army. I never realised they were so good at it. She is only BTS 3, but she has Infiltration, Mimetism -6, Stealth, Terrain Total, and 6 different profiles. So this one is just the normal hacker, but there's a killer hacking device version, a mine layer, a forward observer, a couple of different, a combi rifle with +1 burst and +1 damage, a multi-marksman rifle with +1 damage. There's a lot of flexibility going on here, and not a single one of these profiles pushes past 30 points. In fact, this hacker profile is the most expensive one. But having a MIM -6 stealth hacker that can't run away, can't suffer loss of lieutenant, you know, all that good Morat stuff, that's something I'm interested in playing with. And once again, availability 3, so it's not like you can't experiment with some of those other profiles as well. Going to the model itself, I'm a little torn here, because when I saw the painted one of this, I'm not sure I massively love the green armor personally. I'm not sure it's like 100% to my taste, but the sculpt, I'm really trying hard not to say it's my favorite of the lot. Like, I want to say the Kaesa is my favorite of the lot, because the Kaesa is the one that I first noticed. It's the one that really impressed me. It's the one that made me like, I want to collect Morats. But this sculpt is just so cool. It's like feral predator woman meets cyber hacker, and it's just so different. The design language used is so unique, and I'm really, really in love with it. It's a great, great sculpt. So that is the Zerat Special Missions Regiment. So folks, that's my first look, first impressions at the new Morat Aggression Forces action pack from Corvus Belli for Infinity. I'm very excited for this. I've already pre-ordered Diaphos 10. I've pre-ordered the Tyrock Hunter. I'm probably going to pre-order Raveneye as well, but that's because I already have an O12 collection behind me. Not really related to this, but really impressed with these new sculpts. I really like the look of the profiles. They're not an army I'd ever looked into previously. My introduction to N4 has been through JSA, and I've been really enjoying that. And JSA, I think, attract me, again, because they have stuff that makes them interesting to play. Like, nothing's free with them, you know. You have to use their advantages and play around their disadvantages, and that's probably true to some extent of every army, but with my limited experience, I can't vouch for it. But what I can vouch for is that Morats feel of a similar rewarding play style. They feel similar, that they have certain things that they're very, very good at, and if you can exploit those things and leverage them against your opponent, you'll be able to win games. If your opponent happens to be good against those things, or you don't do a good job of using them to your advantage, that's where you're going to struggle. So this is an army I'm really looking forward to getting into. It'll be my second N4 army. I'll have these and JSA, and then obviously my Code 1 armies all carry over as well. And frankly, I'm feeling like I'm in pretty good shape when it comes to Infinity at the moment. So thank you so much to Corvus Belli for sending these over. What about you folks? Are you planning to pre-order this? Have you already pre-ordered this? Are you interested in Morats? What do you think of the faction? Comment below, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, again, thanks to Corvus Belli. Really, really appreciate you sending this over. I hope I've done it justice and that you've enjoyed the video. And that goes for each and every one of you that watches it as well. I hope you feel like I've done this faction justice if you're a fan of them, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I will see you in the next one, folks, but please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Check below in the description if you're interested in subscribing to my Patreon and supporting the channel. We'll see you in the next one. So happy hobbying, folks. Bye-bye for now.